So we had a bye week for our fantasy football show in week 3, and week 4, well, your host was just sick. Talk about bad luck. Well, some people had their fantasy football players out due to COVID outbreaks. So it's gotten a little real out there, but in tonight's show, we're focusing on week 5. We're talking top players this week and the top 3 games you need to watch in week 5. Tonight's guest, Arizona native, a graduate from the University of Arizona, and your very own KYMA anchor, Brandon Mejia. Let's give him a round of applause. Okay, he deserves it. Brandon, welcome.
Jasmine, welcome. Always good to be back with you.
Of course. Well, before we kick off our fantasy football talk, how's your fantasy team or teams looking so far?
Well, you're aware I am in 2 leagues, one with you, which I am doing pretty well, I think. 3-0 right now at the start. Now I know it's a smaller league, so we should have had 4 games played, but there's not as many people in there. That's okay. The other league I'm in, 3-1, so I did take a loss, but recently just won last week, so I think I'm off to a pretty good start. Still a lot of football left, though, Jasmine.
Of course. Well, moving on, as we all know, you're a huge Raiders fan, and they're currently second in the AFC West, and will face the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday. Are you nervous at all? Because that team is dangerous.
You saw me take a pretty big breath right there. I'm an eager Raider fan, and if anybody knows the rivalry between the Raiders and the Chiefs, you know that it could be anybody's game. But we're talking about the defending champs. So am I nervous? Absolutely. You got Patrick Mahomes you have to contain. You have all of his offensive weapons. I think that if the Raiders can limit what he can do offensively and really get Josh Jacobs going on the offense, we could have a chance. It'd be a shock. It would.
So you think you could pull off the upset? Okay.
I'm calling the upset, but we'll see what happens.
All right, speak your mind. Now, what top 3 players should we keep an eye out for this week, according to you, Mr. Mejia?
Yeah, well, fantasy-wise, I mean, we're in Arizona, and if you got Kyler Murray, or if you can get Kyler Murray, he's going against the 0-4 Jets. This kid has just been explosive recently. I've had him start many games of mine in both your league and the other league I'm in as well, and especially with his combination to pass rush, he's one of those offensive starts where not only is he going to get you runs throwing the ball, he could also run that ball into the end zone for double points as well. So one man to keep an eye out for is Kyler Murray. On the other hand, Odell Beckham Jr. has woken up. I mean, we didn't see it week 1, but talk about week 4, putting up 38 points. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do it again, but if this offense can keep going against the Colts secondary that they play this weekend, well, I'm putting OBJ in because I think that might be the right call. Third, this one's my personal take because, I'm a Raider fan. Darren Waller, the tight end, he's an animal. He's been a growing asset on the Raiders offense. He had an explosive week 3. Week 4, he was a little quiet. But if Carr can exploit him against the Kansas City Chiefs secondary, because they're going to expect Josh Jacobs to get that ball a lot, I think the run game will be crucial for the Raiders. But if they can use Darren Waller in the element of surprise, the Raiders could have a chance at beating the defending champions.
The top 3 games to watch.
Well, I got to put my boys up there as number 1. I think you're going to be watching a great game. The Raiders in Chief, a fun one to watch. When you really talk about this week's lineup, there's not a lot of rivalry games going on. All the undefeated teams have played each other already, so everybody's got a loss under their belt except for the team we're going against this weekend. Like I mentioned, Josh Jacobs, you never know, we can get him going early on. And like my dad's always said, it's a rivalry game, and when it comes down to that, it's anybody's game because you know how the Raiders feel towards the Chiefs. You know how the Chiefs feel towards the Raiders. If there's any team I don't like the most, first it's the Chiefs, and second it's whoever's against the Chiefs. But okay, enough of that. Second game to watch for this one. I think the Bills and the Titans game, both teams are undefeated too, actually, so I might have misspoken earlier. I apologize. But I think that one could be a good one to watch, especially if Derrick Henry's back in there. Could be a fun one as well. And finally, I mean, the Falcons have struggled this year, but they could finally get their first win. The Panthers coming in without Cam Newton. You saw how that worked out for them last week. Falcons 0-4 to start, but you really saw kind of Matt Ryan still putting up explosive numbers. He's got Julio Jones back. He could be a great offensive player to put in as well, especially if they can get things going against the offense. So I think if you are thinking of players, that could be, of course, ones that shock you. Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, let's hope they can connect this weekend.
That's going to be an interesting matchup as well. Well, any sleepers, anyone we're sleeping on that we might need to put in our league that we are missing out on?
I have a tough time with that. We talked about that Malcolm Brown trade. I ended up picking him up. I believe you did in our league.
I dropped him.
No, but it's not a bad call because it was that 1 week he had an explosive run, and we've been wanting that since, but I think a lot of the analysts were right when it wasn't a one and done. I think he'll still have great games, but you can't, always go based off of what they did last week.
Definitely, Brandon, and we're excited to see how Week 5 is going to play out. At least we have football. It gives us some sense of normality
Football and
here.
fantasy football keeps me going, especially on Sundays, so you can say that again.
Definitely. All right. Thanks, Brandon, so much for participating. Well, that's going to do it for our Wednesday Fantasy Football Talk, preparing you before Thursday Night Football. As always, I'm Jasmine Arenas. Have a great night.